Good afternoon. I'm Janine Friedman, and I'm with the Planview-Old Bethpage Chamber of Commerce. I have with me today Andrew Lamkin. Andrew is an attorney specializing in estate planning, and he's also the president of the Planview-Old Bethpage Chamber of Commerce. In addition to volunteering lots and lots of time running the chamber, Andrew was also kind enough to become a gold level sponsor of our upcoming SpringFest, which is going to be taking place this May. So we're going to spend some time getting to know a little bit more about Andrew and his practice. And I want to start by welcoming you, Andrew. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for all the work you do for the chamber and for your support in this year's SpringFest.
Well, thank you, Janine. I think this is a great program that you guys have put together with the festival committee. We haven't done this in the past. I think it's a great idea to, give sponsors a little bit more press and notoriety out there.
Yeah, it seems like it's doing just that, and it's also getting a lot of us to stretch out of our normal roles and kind of take on these different roles as doing these interviews. I know Elon kind of came up with this idea, and he seems to be really becoming a pro at it. So let's start by, why don't you just start by telling us a little bit about your practice and about yourself.
So my practice is, like you said, I'm an attorney here in Plainview, and my practice focuses in the areas of estate planning and elder law. So that really encompasses any level of estate planning, simple wills for young families that just have a child, protecting assets for seniors against the cost of long-term care, meaning home health aides and nursing homes. I do a lot of tax planning for people who may have an estate tax liability. I do a lot of work for families with disabled children to protect the assets appropriately for them. And I do a lot of estate work, meaning when somebody passes, help the family administer the estate. And one thing that I've been doing a lot more of in the last 5 to 10 years is estate litigation, including accounting procedures, will contests, and really just representing individuals who may think that they're not getting what they should be getting from an estate.
Okay, sounds like a full practice and a full day. And I was lucky enough to attend your presentation last night at the women's group of the chamber, so I got to hear a lot firsthand about the services that you provide, and it is extensive. And I'd imagine there's a lot to keep up with ever-changing legislation.
Yeah, there's new laws. I was talking about it last night with the look back for the community Medicaid. But, with power of attorney forms change every few years. So we've got to keep up on everything.
Okay, I bet. All right. Can you tell us what are some of the most challenging aspects of the work that you do?
Well, you're working with clients and you have to manage expectations. As you can imagine, especially in the estate litigation area, you have people that come in that want a certain amount, and they may be entitled to that amount, but there's a balancing act between pursuing the litigation and the costs and the risk associated with that versus what they're going to get. And so you have to manage those expectations. With regards to the Medicaid work that I do, I would say the most difficult part is, I'm part social worker for many families. When the adult children, being people our age, are helping their parents through difficult times, it's very stressful. So in many respects, I'm not just an attorney, and my office is not just a law office. We joke that we have a couch that you can always lay on and talk to us, because it's a very stressful time, and you need to have somebody that is listening to you and your issues so that you feel comfortable and that you're making the right decisions for your parents.
All right. Yeah. Wearing different hats sounds like a key piece of it, and providing that stress relief for them, I'm sure, is a value add that they appreciate.
Yeah.
What else would you say are some of the qualities that make you so successful at what you do?
One thing that I like to do is, I do a lot of different networking, and I'm in some networking groups in addition to the chamber. And I like to surround myself with other professionals that help clients. So as an estate attorney, I work very closely with financial advisors, accountants, life insurance specialists, real estate brokers, people like that can also help my clients. I think that it's important for my clients to have a team of people that they can rely on. I'm not an accountant, and I'm not a financial advisor. I don't watch the markets every day. I can't keep up on every tax law, but I know what I know. and I know what I don't know, which is, by the way, a lot more than what I do know. So I think it's just important for professionals in any area to stick to what you know, but you surround yourself with some partners that can help your clients in those other areas that touch what you do.
Yeah, that makes sense. It sounds like you have a kind of a whole arsenal of people that you can refer your clients to, and it goes beyond the law ends of things and the stuff that you cover on the social worker couch. How has your practice changed as a result of everything that went on with the pandemic?
I wouldn't say my practice has changed much. Early on, it was easy in the sense that we were able to do everything over Zoom. There was legislation, or actually I should say an executive order passed in New York that allowed us to witness and notarize remotely, abiding by certain guidelines, of course. That's gone now. But my practice in and of itself really hasn't changed. The type of work I'm doing really hasn't changed. We certainly, even up until now, that, people seem to be a little bit more comfortable and the mask mandate is gone. This morning we had a will signing and I had a couple of elderly clients in, and they're more comfortable wearing masks. So we do what the client wants us to do in that regard. But I don't, other than that, and just taking those types of precautions, my practice really hasn't changed.
Okay, that's great. I wanted to shift gears a little bit and just go over a couple of quick questions about your role as president, if that's okay.
Sure.
So I know you've been president of our chamber for a few years now, and I wanted to see if you could tell us a little bit more about your roles and responsibilities as chamber president.
Well, as the president of the chamber, you have to be a little bit a part of everything and manage the people, the other members of the board that do great work. And, it took me a little while to figure this out and to do it the right way, but having the right people in charge of the different committees is the most important part of it. I'm very lucky that Elon and Seth are co-chairing the festival committee, because I don't need to do anything with the festival committee. Quite frankly, Elon and Seth know exactly what's going on. Elon's been a part of it for years. Seth is newer to the chamber, but he's really active and participating in a lot of different things. So that's really the key. I have Alan Goldberg, who runs all the networking events, and I just say, Alan, what are our networking events? I don't have to stay on top of them. Obviously I have Barbara, and when you have Barbara, you really, everything else just falls into place. So,
It's true.
Being president it's certainly a lot of work, but it's gratifying. I love being a part of the community. But it's just important, I think, for any manager of any organization to have good people around them. And we have a great board. We always have.
Agreed. Okay. It sounds like you're not a micromanager when it comes to leading the chamber, and probably not one in your practice as well.
I'm very hands off. Yes.
Awesome. All right. And what would you say in the years that you've been leading the chamber, what would you say are one of the most important things that you've learned?
Well, just working with the other areas of the town, having communications with, Gretchen Brown at the library, Rick Lewis at the Y, the folks in the second precinct, our officers who were at our meeting in, I believe it was our general meeting in February. The officers from the second precinct came down and spoke to us. You're part of the community. I'm not going to call myself a leader in the community, but I'm in a position where I should have open communication with other leaders to just make sure that we're all doing what we're supposed to do. We work together to make Planview a great place.
Right. And I think you can call yourself that.
I don't know about that.
All right. So are you ready to switch gears a little bit and talk a little bit more about you, so our viewers can learn more about you on a personal basis?
I'm okay with it, but they might turn off now. So.
All right. We're not going too deep, but just wanted to start by asking you, what made you decide to become an attorney?
Well, I actually worked for 7 years after college. I was in telecommunications, living in the city. I worked for a company called WorldCom that happened to have a pretty large bankruptcy back around when Enron had theirs as well. And I was laid off. I always wanted to go to law school, but the timing was never right. So I was about 29 years old. My uncle, who I've always been very close to, is not a lawyer, but he was in the legal industry. And I spoke to him, and I studied for the LSATs. and I got into a couple of different law schools, and I decided to just pick up and move. And I went to law school in Delaware. So I moved from the city to Delaware, and then, I just always wanted to do it. And when I was in law school, I just, I knew I didn't really want to be a litigator. I'm not a corporate attorney. I didn't want to be in, do matrimonial law or personal injury. And I'm pretty good with numbers. I like working with families. And so I thought that estate planning and, tax planning was a good natural fit for me. I never really knew about elder law, but I was lucky enough to get a job with a law firm on Long Island. And, the guy that I worked for was really, his focus was elder law, Medicaid planning. And I learned from him. He's one of the best to learn from. And so I picked up that side of it. So that's really how I got into this.
Nice. Sounds like a great pivot for you.
Yeah.
All right. Can you tell us about an accomplishment that you're really proud of?
An accomplishment that I'm really proud of. Well, I think growing a practice. I worked for 7 years after college. I stopped everything, went to law school, went to a law firm and worked for 3 years, and then felt comfortable enough to leave and open up my own practice. And, I remember the early days of my own practice. I actually rented some space from Elon, and, it was just me. And then, at one point, I think I hired an intern to help me out for about, 6 to 10 hours a week, just doing little things. And then I hired a paralegal, and then, it kept growing and added hours, and I had a second paralegal. And, now I have an associate that works for me, as well as a paralegal. So I think building a business is really gratifying. It's not easy. It helps that I live close. It helps that my wife manages everything at home, so that, all I really do at home is, I guess, take out the garbage and coach the kids. So I certainly wouldn't have been able to do this without her, but that would probably be the accomplishment that I'm really proud of, is growing a business like this.
All right. Sounds like, you built it from scratch, and took a lot of hard work, but at the same time, it's nice that you had the support at home.
Yeah.
All right. What's one thing most people don't know about you?
It's funny. I'm always asked this, I'm in a networking group, and when you speak every few months, they make you write something down. And I think the one thing people probably don't know about me is that, I grew up in Boston, or just south of Boston. And, I didn't really move back home after college. I went to Syracuse and then moved to the city. But when I was a senior in college in Syracuse, I actually ran for office back in my hometown of Randolph, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And I was elected to, I think it was called town council or something. It was a small town, much like Planview, actually, about 30,000 people. But they had this town council where each precinct had about five to eight, committee members. And I won, and I got on, but then I never moved back home. My plan was to go into politics back in Massachusetts. And I thought, running for office as a senior in college would be nice. But then I changed gears, and I, instead of moving home, I moved to New York City and never really went to a meeting. So,
okay. So I had other plans.
The ending wasn't great, but that's something nobody knows about me.
No, I did not know that. And that's an interesting story. And, life had other plans for you, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. My last question is, I know that you just got back from a trip with your family, but I wanted to ask, what do you consider to be the most exotic place you've ever traveled to?
Well, I'd have to say exotic, probably Hawaii. We were in Turks and Caicos recently. I wouldn't necessarily call that exotic. It's more for the kids, the beaches resort. But
I was actually there last month.
You were there in beaches last month?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Great place, isn't it?
Amazing. Yeah.
We've been going since my daughter was little.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we love it there, but wouldn't consider beaches to be exotic, but I'd say Hawaii.
Okay. Yeah, 3 hours or, 8 or 9 hours. It is a big difference. You do feel like you're on the other kind of side of the world when you go to Hawaii.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for sharing. And thanks for all that you do to make our chamber great, and for your support in making this year's SpringFest a success.
Well, thank you. And thank you to the entire festival committee for doing this. And it's really the people that are on the committees like this that make the chamber great. It's not me, because like you said, I don't really oversee much. I let people do what they do, and it's thankful to you guys for stepping up and doing the hard work.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Thanks,
All right, thank you.
Andrew.
Take care.